we'll see. Oops. I think it does a different window, maybe. Redirecting to Facebook Live is what it says here. All right. Okay, looks like we are live. Woohoo! Okay, everybody, we are doing Zoom is our first time, an official Tuesday morning live. So we're going to see how that goes. And I have Kristen Griffin here with me this morning. Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning, everyone. How are you?
And you're looking beautiful in your pink. I went black this morning. But you look just lovely. And now let's see. I want to make sure that I have the chat box open. So those of you out there can do your usual check-in. And I'm going to also see here. I'm going to go do a little check. I want to see if I can actually see us on the Facebook page here. So it should, but I haven't seen that before. So I want to make sure and see that we're really there. And maybe it will, it looks like, woohoo, okay, looks like we are. That's good.
Yeah.
You know, I never trust technology 100%, you know. So who's out there with us this morning? Anybody want to share and say good morning? Often we have a couple of gals from California and several that come in from Kansas City, sometimes here in Vegas. Kristen's here in Vegas. We had a great coffee chat about 2 weeks ago, right, Kristen?
Yes, we did. It was fantastic.
Huh?
It was fantastic, yes.
Oh, it was great. And she just joined in our Fun Fearless Female group. She came to the luncheon that was here in Las Vegas. That's how we met. And so I want to make sure and just see if we have any folks out there that are wanting to make some comments. So I need to just do I'm going a little surfing here, and just see where they may be. Okay, so what I'm hoping is that if they make a comment, okay, so Terry Ann, okay, so I am seeing y'all's comments on my page of Facebook. All right, so Terry Ann's there. Kathy, good morning, both of y'all from Kansas City. So I may be doing a little back and forth, Kristen, if you see me like lose, like I'm not paying attention, but I really am. But I see that it doesn't show on our chat box here. So that's what I wanted to know. I wasn't sure how that really worked. All right, so Kristen, talk to me. Tell the ladies, tell them. Sometimes we have some guys. So tell our people out there about you.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us, and thank you so much, Delinda, for having me. So I am a mother of a 6-year-old daughter, and I'm here in Las Vegas now. I'm originally from Michigan. And I aspire to be a fantastic entrepreneur that is wanting to help ladies feel great on the inside and look beautiful on the outside. So part of that is sharing with you how we can get to that point with our mindsets. And so there's a lot that has manifested in my life. There's a lot that have changed with my identity. And I just want to share with you, you know, how you can do the same and how you can help me as well. So I want you guys to comment. I want you guys to join in with us. And I thank you so much for allowing me to speak today, Delinda.
Oh, well, it is my pleasure. I always love it when I have someone to have conversation back and forth. It makes it so much more fun. And I think the group out there is better than just hearing me go like this the whole time. So we're talking about mindset today. And I know I think that is the crucial thing to all that we do, because, you know, the Bible tells us, so a man thinketh, so he is, means for a woman too. So a person, so we all think, so we are. And, what you think about, you bring about is kind of the more contemporary way of saying that, but it's the exact same thing. So when we think negative thoughts, when we beat up on ourselves, when we think we cannot do something, the truth is we're right. Because the more we think we cannot, the more we can't, we won't. Because when we tell ourselves we can't do a particular thing, then we're stopping ourselves before we even get started. And many of y'all have heard me say before, sometimes we just need to take the girdle off of our brain and just allow ourselves unlimited thinking, right? Have you ever heard that, Kristen? I don't know if I told you that before.
You know what? I have not heard about the girdle.
Well, it's very visual, even though if we have very many young people out there, of course, you're younger than I am, but there's probably a lot of contemporary young women that don't even know what a girdle is. But so let's say take your Spanx off of your brain.
I'm familiar
Right?
with that.
Yeah, it's just really the same thing. So, so Kristen, tell us just a little bit. You know, have you found that to be true in your life? Have you had some times when your thinking was small or limited, and you know that held you back?
Oh my goodness, I think I'm a product of this question right here. Most certainly. And I've had opportunities where I have, utilized my mindset in a positive fashion, but I grew up more in the negative realm. And so I used to even say, I hope for the best, but I expect the worst because the worst kept happening. And then I kept getting the worst. And so I started to change that. I started to change that. And I was able to then see blessings even in the midst of the storm. And so I'm here to say that that's definitely a true statement. Whatever you think, it comes about, and you start to position yourself and start, um, whatever you think about expands. So whatever you focus on, that's going to be part of what your life experience is going to be. So if you think positive, you're going to see more positive experiences happen, and you're going to enjoy life a little bit better. And if you are, if you have that negative mindset, then you'll start focusing on that, and your life will start, being more negative. So I can see that with a lot of people's lives, but I definitely see that with mine. And then the small thinking, oh my goodness gracious, we only use about 10% of our brain power anyway. And then with all these
Yeah.
distractions, even in the information age, a lot of things are coming to us. We don't really take time to be intentional about what we think about and about what we want to, expect in our lives. So I'm definitely a product of limiting myself with my thoughts. And, maybe today there will be another revelation that will come about, and it'll allow me and others, to think differently, especially today, and get started doing some things differently. So yes.
That's great. So do you have, and I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but then, hey, you're on the spot today. You're right here on the spot with me. So do you have like one example that you could give from your life of just one time or one thing that where you changed and how it made a difference?
Oh, most certainly. Only one? No.
So just pick one of
Right.
them.
Well, so a storm that came was when uh, my parents and I had to leave our home because it was being sold. We were actually renting at the time, and hopefully they're okay with me sharing this information. But we had to make other means to live. And so it was a very quick process, but even in the midst of that storm, I knew that wasn't the end. I knew that we had gotten through so many other things, and God was changing my identity at the time. So I just latched on to what blessings would come about. So I actually prepared myself to expect great things even from that situation. And that's a hard situation to go through, that type of transition, and, with children, and having them transition. It was kind of hard, but I was learning Spanish. I prayed, and I was still, searching for blessings. And I think that was a time that actually told me that anytime there is a storm, there's still a silver lining. God is still there. He never leaves you nor forsakes you. And so I could have taken
Amen
that
on that,
situation.
girl. Isn't that
Yeah.
just, that is the assurance of our life. I mean,
Yes.
without faith, and if there's any of you out there that don't have that faith base, go find it. I mean, talk to me. I'd be happy to talk to you about it, because I think that is a huge. I mean, that really is the key, because when you have your faith that God's going to take care of you, that there is going to be an answer, it really does change your perspective on everything. Before
Yes.
we just feel like we're rolling around the world as random, and there's no hope, and there's nothing bigger than us, and that we're all it. Why? How could you have hope? Whereas that's what God gives to us. And of course, one of my favorite, I say of course, because I think some of you who are have been on before know that, one of my favorite verses, and I think, Kristen, we even talked about this one, Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for hope and a future. That's what we have. So when we go through these things, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to die, we're not going to have any food tomorrow, whatever those thoughts are, releasing that and just let God take care of it, and really just know in your heart that there's going to be an answer. There's going to be a way. And most of the time it's not anything that we could have thought of. And, how he can work things out that we just don't even know, because he is like in control of the universe, right?
Yeah.
which is really great. It's like, I'm so glad, Lord, I'm not in charge. Right? Even though I do have control issues about the things in my normal life. I do, have to deal with those. Yes, Kathy, thank you for posting that. Let me take just a little aside here, Chris. I want to see, none of the chats are not showing on our Zoom window. So I'm going to slide over here to the actual Facebook page and see who's on here that I can say hi to. Hi, Brenda. Rain needs to happen for things to grow. There you go. That's a good one. And Brenda, I look forward to meeting you. I did send you an email yesterday. So take a look at your email if you haven't seen it yet. Audrey, good morning. And then, and Brenda's had another comment there. So let me see if there's any others down here. All right. I love it when you guys make some comments. We love that. All right. So, Kristen, as you see, what do you think? I know you talk to lots of women. Do you see an overriding factor, something that you feel women often limit themselves with? Is there a current thought that you have seen women having that holds them back? Or do you understand my question?
Well, yeah. We don't like failure, and I think we try to juggle so many things, and we want to have success in all of those things, which we're powerful women. We can do that, right? Especially if we set our intentions on that. But we have the family life, we have our careers, we have our personal lives, and we want success in all of that. So I think that if we take time to set our intentions purposeful and have God first, I mean, that's the main point right there. Sometimes we think that we can do it all, and it kind of gets overwhelming at times as well. So I know it does for me. I don't know about for anyone else, but it does get overwhelming at times for me. And those are the times where I'm not allowing God to be in control. And so I can actually take from those experiences and make sure that I am putting him first, like setting your mornings to be intentional and purposeful, like saying your affirmations and repeating his word, which is the truth, which will, help us on our daily lives. It's going to set us free, right? And that's how we should start off our mornings. But we think that we can do it all. And we try to, fill in those hows when he should actually be doing that for us. So when we set our minds on the vision, like the outcome, it's going to come back to us. So if we want, success in our families, in our careers, in our, financial endeavors, in our spiritual realm, then we have to put him first. So I think we do limit ourselves by juggling too much and not allowing him to be a part of that experience.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that that whole busyness, the busyness of life keeps us separated.
Yes.
And we just feel like, you know, one of the things that I noticed that I was getting in a habit of, that I'm changing that habit, is, oh, let me just check, you know, first I check my phone, you know, it's like, okay, is there any important message, like has my, you know, have either of my kids. Now my daughter Facebook lives me every day with my little grandson, who is 16 months now, or maybe he's 17 months, I can't keep track. And it's wonderful. So then I kind of see, you know, if she's tried to check in with me, because she's 2 hours, she's in Kansas City, so she's 2 hours later. So sometimes she tries me at 6:30 in the morning. It's like, daughter, really, this is a little much. But it's really easy in our days of technology to check the phone real quick, and then we start reacting. We start reacting to what's going on. What did that text message that, oh, I want to, you know, I should identify that, or, you know, oh, an email came on, or whatever. And I found I was doing that more than I wanted to. And so an hour could go by in the morning, and I hadn't, you know, I hadn't done my Bible reading yet. I hadn't done my prayer time. It's like, wait a minute, that is not how I want to spend my day. So I'm really changing that back again. And for all of us, it's a decision. It's just deciding, okay, I'm not saying that I don't just check to make sure neither any of my kids, you know, either my kids or my husband, because as y'all know, Bill's in Kansas City most of the time. So all my family's in Kansas City when I'm out here in Vegas. So I do check that. But other than that, I've now stopped myself from checking anything else. So if any of y'all send me messages that I don't answer right away, it's because I have other things I need to take care of first, put my day in order. So I think that's a good point, Kristen. And the other thing to think about in the limited thinking is that I think we are so afraid, as you mentioned, you know, not being successful, or we're afraid that we're not going to be the end all, everything to everybody. And that is where, as women, we need to really watch that, because God doesn't call us to be everything to everybody. He calls us to walk our journey and be what he's called us to be. But we want to take on all these things. And part of it is, and I'm going to go back to the limited thinking, that sometimes we don't think we're good enough, or that we're worthy, or that somebody's not going to like us as much, or they're going to think something weird about us, whatever all those crazy thoughts are that go through our head. So we either jump in and try to do way, way more than we need to, because we're trying to show everybody we can. That's how we're building ourselves up, but really we're tearing ourselves down. Does that make sense? So either we sit back on the sidelines and don't do anything because we're afraid, and we don't think we can, and we're holding ourselves back, or we jump into the busyness of life, trying to prove to everybody else or to ourselves that we really can do all this stuff. So we kind of have to work with ourselves on both sides. And I see you shaking your head there. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, the second part is what I'm going through right now. You know, I think that I care too much about what others think instead of making God's plan come to fruition in my life. And so that hinders me from really stepping out there and being who he called me to be, and really spending time with him and releasing those fears. Because there was one point in time where I wrote down every fear that I had. I was very vulnerable. I was very, honest with myself, so that I could see what was limiting me. And there was a scripture for every thing that I had on my list. So that told me that there was nothing that could actually stop me from doing what he called me to do. And still to this day, I have those doubting beliefs. I still have that fear. I still have that fear of rejection. I even have a fear of success. And so I don't know what that actually looks like. And I don't know about, sustaining it. And so I'm just being really vulnerable right now, saying that I am a product of limiting myself, and I have seen the other side of it, and it has been beautiful. And we still attach ourselves to, what others may think. And, we don't see the journey. We're if we're on a different journey than what we think it should be, if it doesn't look like that, then we kind of pull back a little bit and, have these thoughts come into our minds. And that's just the enemy keeping us from reaching our full potential. I know that for a fact. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
but if we could just be children for a moment, I see my daughter with this, you know, this wide imagination, and I don't want to put a damper on that. And I know that when we were toddlers, our parents told us no, because they didn't want us to fall, or they didn't want us to, mess up the house or anything, so they could exert more energy, cleaning up after us. So we were always told no. And so that comes into our subconscious mind, and we that kind of carries out throughout our lives. We kind of tell ourselves no, we kind of pull back a little bit and have those, self-doubting beliefs, because we don't want to fall. We don't want to be rejected. We don't want to fail, And so I ask you, Delinda, really, with you saying that you don't want to, um, you want to give yourself more time to care about yourself and put energy and time into yourself and really allow God to show you who He is and who you are through Him, then I ask you, how can you help all of us today? Because I know how to do it, but sometimes we need support, and that's why I'm here as well. I need everyone's support, and I want everyone to comment. I can't see your comments now, but I want everyone to comment about, your experience and how you can help us.
Yeah, and God didn't put us all here in separate little places. I really believe His intention is for us to gather together. And if we go back into the New Testament, when Jesus was walking the earth, He always had fellowship. He had His disciples with Him. He was always out reaching out to others and meeting people where they were. It is not, we need definitely alone time, because Jesus went away by Himself to pray.
Yeah.
But we need each other. It is, we support each other. We have ideas. I think back, when before our country, before we had, in the early days, okay, before there were cars and phones and all of that stuff, and families lived close together. Whether they lived in the same house, they lived in the neighborhoods, and they were there to support and to help each other. So when the young moms were having babies, the grandmothers and the aunts and all were all close by, and the family connection, and then in the church, and many times they could just walk to church. So how the society has changed has opened up new challenges of now, my mother and brother in Phoenix. Fortunately, my sister's here in town, but my kids are in Kansas City. So we don't have our as close proximity many times to our families. So what do we do? Because we still have that need to have mentors, have the grandmothers. Now I'm in the grandmother category now. So God's using me, I think, as a mentor and to help those that are younger than I am, whether it's with their children or just meeting those needs that we have as women. So our society is different. So we have to work our relationships differently. And when we individually, so I'm not sure if this is the question you were asking me, but I find that when I stay true in the word, and when I'm growing myself, when I'm working on my own personal development, then I see more and more ways that I can reach and nurture and help other people. Because if I'm not growing, and if I'm not filling my cup, then how do I have anything to give to other people? And those of us who are coaches out there, we all have coaches, we all have mentors, because if we don't grow, we become stagnant. All of us do. everybody, if you don't, you're either growing or dying, but staying still doesn't really happen, at least not for long. You might just be able to be, in a place for a very short time. But so I prefer being in growing mode as to the backsliding, falling down mode. So again, it's intentional. And you use that word several times today. And our lives need to be intentional. Where do we spend our time? What people do we share our life with? I love this. This is our Tuesday morning. This is where we share our lives together on Tuesday mornings. And it's so fun for me at the end of the day to look and see how people have gotten on and clicked on and watched the video of this. And I think it connects us. So hopefully y'all know that, one of the gifts God's given me is, well, my spiritual gift is encouragement, but also he's given me a way of giving energy out. I don't know what that's exactly called, but that's what I want to do. Whenever, we come in contact with each other, whether it's on Zoom or wherever, I want to breathe that energy and that belief into all of you, into the women that God puts in my path. So, but it's easier to do that when we are growing and developing ourselves. Was that sort of what you were asking me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I thank you for that because you do breathe life and you won't have life in you if you are not receiving it from God. So we definitely appreciate you even having this platform and having a way for us to share with one another and commune with one another and, grow together as well. So we appreciate that, Delinda.
Oh, well, thank you. It's just kind of what God's given me to do. So I love it. So, all right. I want to see if there's any others that have clicked on here. Again, we don't see you on Zoom, so I'm clicking just over to see if we've had any other comments. Karen, good morning. I saw that you clicked on, so it's always great to have you here. It's funny, there's actually a little bit of a delay when I see it on Facebook. That's a little bit behind what I already said. So it's a little bit strange. So I can't watch it over there, but I just wanted to see if there are any more comments. So Kristin, we have just a couple minutes left. Any last minute thing you'd like to share with the ladies? I don't think we have any gentlemen with us today. I don't see anybody on. But any last thoughts you'd like to share?
Well, I would. One, thank you again, Delinda, for having me on. I appreciate that. I'm here to learn and grow. And you got me on here pretty quickly, so I appreciate you not wasting any time.
I wasn't going to let any grass grow under your feet, girl.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I want to leave you guys with. I've seen that time has been a hindrance. Time has been an obstacle. And time is what the enemy even uses against us because that's when we can kind of get in our heads, right? And have those negative thoughts. And then we think that we can't. And so we don't. And so even you taking this platform and using it to, help others, if you would have sat there and thought about how to get everything perfectly or, what the outcome was going to be or, if people were going to be on today, but you still jumped out there and you didn't let the grass grow under your feet. And so now we get to experience that. And so I leave with you all today, don't let time be a factor that hinders you from having thoughts of, perfection or, reservations about what you have to give, because we all have something to give. And if we didn't, then we wouldn't be here. So God actually created us. He breathed life into us. And so when we go back to him and have him share with us what our purpose is, what our goals are, then we can see the vision on the other side. And then time won't even be a factor because we know that we're working towards his goal, his end result. And so I just leave with you guys, do something today that you can actually be uncomfortable with, but have thoughts that are positive, have thoughts of a greater outcome, expect, blessings today, and be intentional about God's word and his purpose for you today.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kristin. I appreciate that very much. in our luncheon here in Vegas, been a few weeks ago, we meet on the first Friday. And several of the gals in the group mentioned that they had wanted to do Facebook, but they were kind of afraid and tentative about starting it. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get those girls. They're not going to be afraid anymore because I'm going to put them on the spot. So you did great. You were wonderful. So I will have you back on the show again. I hope you would be open to that. I think you have some just great things to share with everybody. And it's nice for everyone to see different perspectives. We all come from a different place and different backgrounds. So it's nice to have that. So we are up on our time. And as always, I like to see, now this is why you don't have to be perfect, because my brain is faster than my mouth. So remember that life is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. Choose wisely. Go out and do something that scares you this week. Go out and do something that you know is holding you back. All right. God bless you. Love you. And see you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And we're out.